Well, let's open it up and see what issues in the hall you might want to raise with us. I'm hoping that there might be a couple of prompt questions on the iPad here, but we'll see. But as you said, Arif, the best questions are normally those that come direct from the hall. So let's see what we've got. I guess we've been talking about three areas: strengthening school systems, entrepreneurial mindsets, and then how to create effective public-private partnerships to drive the reform of education. So in any of those areas, it'd be great to have a question or two. To my right.
Yes. Thanks for a very interesting set of opening remarks. This is what I'm hearing so far, and let me tell you my problem with it. I feel like we keep going back to that same point, the same framework of NGOs being creative and innovative and driving that, and the government being too bureaucratic, too inflexible, too traditional, too uninventive. And this is problematic to me on two levels. The first is I feel like, and a lot of times, this is not a carefully assessed statement. I think sometimes NGOs can replicate exactly the kind of traditional, uncreative, uninventive practices that we accuse government of having. It's just simply too simplistic to say that. And, and at times that there are very creative things that we actually do ignore. So that's one reason why it's problematic. And the other is that it takes us back to square one, where we talk about scale. How do we scale up these really innovative initiatives that we have, and how do we get government to adopt them and so forth? So I'm just asking you as the speakers, and maybe someone in the audience, to please challenge me with maybe some kind of different framework for approaching this. Can we be creative in thinking, more creative in thinking about the framing of this problem? For example, do you see sort of any government characteristics or any openings that you see, especially now in the Arab world? This is what we're talking about. Any change, any hope maybe with the Arab Spring? I know this is not the session for it, but can we just be a little bit more creative and frame this problem differently?
Thank you. And I should have asked you just to introduce yourself, because it sounds like you have a perspective on all of this.
My name is Hanan Abdurrahim. I'm Palestinian, by the way. I'm from Qatar University. And yeah, I guess I do have a perspective.
Very good. Would either of you like to have a go at that? Reinvent the paradigm in the next 45 seconds.
Thank you, Hanan. Yes, it's a phenomenon now that NGOs repeats the same mistakes that the traditional system, but they don't have to, because the traditional system, it's like a beer. It's a very big system that you could not move easily from place to place, and you could not really have a significant improvement that you can see. I could not say that in Palestine, in particular, the picture is like what you described, that the governmental system, it's weak, and the NGOs are trying to replace. No, I can say that in Palestine, our problem is the lack of human resources, because we are disconnected from the world, actually, in terms of bringing people in. And in the human resource, we used to be the most educated people before Intifada. But now, if you are going to the schools in Palestine, you see a very different reality, because of the last 20 or 30 years of struggles and conflicts and others. Yes, there is a hope. In Palestine, for example, we as NGOs, we are volunteer with the curricula official and governmental curricula center to develop the new technology curricula. A lot of e-learning capacities coming to Palestine now to develop a this new era. So there is a hope. The problem that when we are here and the world going very fast through technology and other policies to be very far away from us, we don't have this time to fill this gap. And this is I will challenge you with this question: what to do to fill this gap very quickly, but with saving the same quality. Our approach in Palestine is to work with a very small group to create a role model. So we will pick up the fruits in 2015. I don't know now to tell you if this model will be a success model. The indicators very positive. We are seeing a lot of improvement, but as a result of the lack of resources, we could not really tackle this issue in a very wide perspective. So we are trying to work with the minority who can make a change. 2015 very close. I would love to be in contact and to tell you what the learned lessons.
Ponce, I'm going to ask you to chip in here as well, because I thought behind the question lay this sense that the NGO doesn't have to be this fleet-footed dream that makes things happen, and governments don't always have to be bureaucratic, slow-moving. And I wondered from your perspective as a young entrepreneur how you see government. I mean, do you see government as a helpful thing, or something that, frankly, in its traditional forms, needs to be shifted into the side lane and you just steam past? How do you conceive of government?
Well, first of all, I'd like to make 2 points. First, it wasn't me who blamed the government, so no, it's a joke. Second, I can share from my experience. On my perspective, I don't see the government as anything negative. In fact, I know its role, and that I just realized that the system that we have isn't perfect, and that we need to create new models. And these new innovations must come from the other sector, the private sector, because the government being more or less, how do you say that, a monopolist on that area, it's not very efficient in the economic sense. It's just a natural system, right? So there needs to be other people doing it, those stuff. But on my experience, though, on how I guess I started considering being an entrepreneur more seriously, first I'd like to point out one public-private partnership that they did in the Philippines. There was this wealthy individual who started an initiative called Go Negosyo, which is just basically go into business. And they started, in partnership with the government, they put up entrepreneurship clubs in high schools, and they started teaching that. But the problem there then was I guess it got lost into translation. I'm sure at the top it had a great view on entrepreneurship, but to us who were experiencing it, was mostly us being taught how to fry pancakes because we can sell it, although it wasn't such a big entrepreneurship idea of moving society forward or whatever. But for me, the infrastructure that pushed me forward to being where I am today is venture philanthropists like Starbucks Foundation, who believed in young people, that we only had passion and persistence. We kept emailing them until they said, okay, we'll give you a little bit of funding to, those and mentors that can be all of you in front of me today, in the young people you work with.
And just from a business perspective, I think that Cisco would have looked at all of this quite differently 10 years ago. I think we'd have thought, right, well, we'll bring some philanthropic dollars and we'll insert them in a useful place. But really, the game is being played out by the NGOs and the government and others. And I think much more now we would be likely to be saying the philanthropic element is fine and essential. We don't want to stop it. But how do we take what we learned in that sphere and put it at the heart of the business? So that, for example, as we now work with school system leaders around the world, from Korea to Finland to the USA and back into Europe, we're thinking very hard about what we can learn from what they're doing and what they need to do in order to drive the next generation of products and services from Cisco. The danger, we are a for-profit organization, and you begin to price the people who most need this out of your market. The benefit is that a company like mine, as big as it is, no longer sees education it can do in the tram lines, in the margins, but it has to come central to the whole being of the organization. So that, I think, again, is a paradigm-busting idea. But perhaps enough on that question. Shall we look for the next question? Yes. Here it comes.
Maybe you have to use Twitter.
Okay, thank you. I'd probably be pretty sad at that. I'm not very good. Okay. My name is Halima Ali Al-Qadi. I'm actually from the US, but I've been living in Qatar for about 8 years now. And I recently completed my master's in educational leadership, and my final internship that I did in that program was I was trying to establish partnerships between local businesses and schools, and I was working in particular with a high school, a girls' high school here. And also I was trying to start an entrepreneurial education sort of in the school, working with the business department. They split in high school. They have certain programs you can choose, business, sort of like humanity type sort of things, and like sciences, okay? So I ran into a bit of problems when I was trying to go through this program, which I thought was not really that innovative, but pretty basic, okay? But I guess maybe it's a bit innovative or new and in this area. So one of the problems I ran into is that with the businesses and starting businesses, they had a hard time thinking of students, even high school students, as being ready to do things in like work-based learning programs, okay? And I'm thinking even junior high school students and even upper elementary can start getting into these things, but it's a very new concept. And also I had a problem trying to think of us as equal partners. That we're not here to provide just somebody that might be a future employee of yours. Although that might happen, okay, and it's in your interest to get involved because you're working towards I don't know if you know anything about the 2030 goals that that Qatar has and for working for. So there are all these things, and there are a lot of reasons. There's Qatarization and all these things that get in.
So the question that you wanted to ask.
Okay, so how do you see that there's a problem with the businesses and in the partnership idea? Do you see that there's a problem in businesses and education really meshing, not one thinking of it, okay, I'm looking at it only from my perspective, and the other one, I'm only looking at it from my...
Let me have a very quick go at that, and then I think I want to invite maybe both of you to reflect on what you were talking about in the earlier part of your intervention about making sure that women are involved in this whole process, particularly in this region. So I can't speak for, I guess, the particular experiences that you've had, but in most of the parts of the world where I have worked, I've ceased to see a problem in business working with education. Mostly I find educators extremely generous, open-minded, and they're looking for inspiration and help from wherever they can take it. If they get disappointed, if something goes wrong in the relationship, I think they're wise enough to know and to walk away. So I think we need to move beyond the suspicion that somehow business will contaminate education or that educators will water down business drives. I think unless we get this relationship right and working everywhere, we're going to really lose out. And certainly some of the best experiences I've had of transformational education have been business influenced. I'm sure there are many others that aren't. But let me just go back then to Arif and maybe Ponce after Arif. How do you see this challenge of making sure that the world we're talking about, better schooling, entrepreneurial opportunities, is opened up to women, particularly in this region, as well as to men?
Yeah, I have just one comment for Halima. We are not speaking the same language, unfortunately. The huge corporates and the business who are investing in education, they are speaking one language. NGOs and educational sector, they are speaking another language. And the entrepreneurs themselves, they are far away from the two approaches. For business, it's money. For educators, it's skills and knowledge. For entrepreneurs, it's something inside them, motivate them to do to initiate new initiatives and to do something. And it's not necessarily money. I met during the last 10 years at least 400 or 500 hundreds of young entrepreneurs in Palestine. Try to help them to register, if it's scientific and industrial, to register new patents, to create new companies. We have succeeded in 12 out of the hundreds, because suddenly, and by, I don't know if it's by mistake or by luck, they had this combined skills between business. They succeeded to speak the three languages of the three parties, which all of them speaking English, but it's very, very different and various approaches. Women in entrepreneurship, especially in the region, it's very important, because as a result of the reality and the society which we are living in, conservative, and it's going all the time to this direction, which I personally see it as a mess, but this is the reality. Women in science in Palestine, there are much success than men. We have a lowest dropout percentage among girls in the schools. We have high performances for women in universities. And now, in the last years, we have more companies established by women as entrepreneurs and innovative companies, more than men. Now, if they can make it to the real business, I believe yes. But we have to work very closely to change the traditions and the mentality of parents and other stakeholders to give the platform for women to success and to go forward.
That's very encouraging. And Ponce, do you see any particular barriers in terms of entrepreneurship to women becoming involved? And if you do see such barriers, what do you think we ought to do about it?
Well, I'd like to go back to her question first. So I think more than changing the mindset of businesses, you also need to change your mindset. I think at the core of social entrepreneurship is the acceptance that everyone has self-interest, and that's okay. And these businesses also have their own motivations. As for us, for example, we are funded by Starbucks Foundation, but the self-interest that we are providing for them is that the NGOs that they're providing funding, they're the ones that are in need of our help. So we help those NGOs that they fund. So we are answering to a pain that they are providing. I guess for you need to, find what those corporations' motivations are that can be provided in exchange by the education system. I guess in the Philippines, for example, there's this big boom of call centers, business process outsourcing, but not many Filipinos are as fluent as we'd like to speak English and take on these jobs. Probably these corporations, for example, can fund initiatives of skills capacity building for schools in training and all those stuff. But again, it's at the core of it, it's answering to a need of that corporation. It's about finding, I guess that's my point.
Good.
But with regards to the women part, I'm okay. Let's just next question. I don't know the answer. So.
Okay. I think we are going to need to wind up in a moment. But before we do, I just want to take one question that's come into my screen, which is short and to the point. I'm going to throw it to Araf. Jane Owen asks us, how can digitally illiterate adults survive in a digital working world? And it's a very good question. I wonder what you think about that from your perspective.
Oh, it's very complicated, I think, because using technology and digitalizing all of our life is one thing, and utilizing technology for better life is another thing. Now, what we are trying to do is to using technology in everything. Even in this session, you encouraged the audience to send SMS and to tweet instead of talking to each other. The new generation face this challenge. They are not seeing the trees. They are not walking in the streets. They are not really interacting with their parents. They are not being part of the human civilization and culture. And all of this for using technology to be advanced. It's not for utilizing technology to make life easier. So this debate, it's another debate, but it's very important to be aware as parents and as leaders of any educational institution or sector, that yes, we want technology, we want digitalization, we want to use all of the 0.2 technology, and we want to cooperate with Cisco, Intel, Microsoft, and all of the big companies who are motivating using the technology, but we want it to serve us, and we don't want to be servant for it.
Thank you. And I suppose, in the end, we have to make sure that the next generation of adults does not become digitally illiterate by creating this better experience for them at school. So just to sum up and to try and pull together some of the things we might have talked about, I think we're seeing a need to put these higher order capabilities like problem solving and critical thinking at the heart of school systems. We think that if we do that, we'll be equipping a generation of students with the skills to survive in pressured working environments. These are the entrepreneurial skills. It must make sense to think, how can we begin to join up educational experiences to support this idea, the primary phase, the secondary phase, the tertiary phase. It would be a tragedy to leave young children, to equip young children with these higher order capabilities, and then to put them on ice while they do very traditional things in the latter part of secondary and tertiary. And then finally, I suppose we're talking about that learning society idea, and how do you equip people to go on learning all the way through life, as to go back to what we said right at the beginning, people cycle through multiple jobs and new challenges, often into their 7th or even their 8th decade. And how do we do all of that evenly, rather than just in the most wealthy parts of this world? How can we make that a common experience for everyone in the 21st century? I think that's it. I think we've overrun, and I think it must be lunchtime. So thank you all very, very much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of WISE.
Thank you.